Behind the scenes of Dr. Phil that no one knows. Dr. Phil has made quite the name for himself, helping the less fortunate over the years. While we all know what goes down on the stage, most of us don't know the process the guests go through to get there. Some of what goes on off camera can be a little bit alarming, especially if you take into consideration testimonies from people who have appeared on the talk show. Let's take a look at some of the behind-the-scenes goings-on Dr. Phil that no one knows. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos about your favorite movies and TV shows. Hand-picked guests. Let's face it, you don't go on Dr. Phil unless you've got some serious problems. But when it comes to landing a place on the stage, it's more than that. It's not enough for a guest to need help. They need to be pretty messed up, really attractive, or both. After all, this isn't purely about helping people, it's about making good TV that people will watch. One Quora user took to the site to tell others about the time that her cousin appeared on the show. She wasn't on it due to her personal problems, but she was chosen because she was, and still is, very attractive. There have also been claims over the years that the doc uses actors to boost his ratings, but according to a former employee who posted a thread on Reddit, they don't need to, as the show is inundated with people who beg to appear. They went on to write, "We spend a good deal of time, I'm talking hours on end for days, talking to these people, and getting both sides of the story before they get booked for a show." It's no secret that Dr. Phil likes to send tearaway teens to camps in order to straighten them out. While some of them come back completely new individuals, a lot of the time, it doesn't work. Sometimes it even makes the situation worse. One Reddit thread dedicated to the show has multiple examples of people experiencing horrific things at the very same camps on the doc's roster. "I have 2 cousins that have been sent to these camps," wrote one user Discovery. "Terrible places that cost $80K a year. One of my cousins just needed discipline and better social skills, but is now so zonked out on meds that she is a shadow of her former self." According to Terry Myers, who appeared on the show with her troubled teen, her daughter was subjected to awful treatment at the residential treatment center Phil recommended. Among other things, her arm was badly broken by supervisors, and she was treated like a prisoner. In the lawsuit they filed against the show, they stated that their daughter was there for the purpose of forcing her to become obedient instead of truant by depriving her of freedom, privacy, education, and subjecting her to involuntary servitude and unjust, unusual punishments. Doesn't sound like medicine, does it? Free drugs. Dr. Phil might seem like he's all about mending broken families and helping addicts get the treatment they need, but it's just a smokescreen. In fact, the more messed up he can get them, the higher ratings and the more money he rakes in. Over the years, multiple guests have come forward with claims that they've been piled with booze and drugs from the show's producers before going out on stage. One man went on the show for help with his alcohol issues, but when he turned up to set, he found a liter bottle of vodka in his dressing room. On another occasion, a mother and daughter with drug problems stated that showrunners helped them find a dealer close to set. Of course, the show categorically denied any events ever occurred, but you know what they say, there's no smoke without fire. With all these reports, it's hard to believe that there's no truth in them whatsoever. I mean, sober guests just wouldn't make such good television, would they? Generous with coupons. If you've passed all the relevant tests to get onto the show, then the one good thing is that you'll be put up in a pretty decent hotel. Guests are booked into 4-star accommodation close to the set in on the Paramount Pictures lot in Hollywood, California. Some rooms even have beautiful views of the Hollywood sign. Not only that, but meals are on them too, and they'll even add money to your account so you can go buy snacks and other items you might want. One guest that appeared on the show was particularly pleased with the breakfast buffet that was on every single day and the extra coupons for free stuff. One can't help but wonder though, is there a mini bar in those plush hotel rooms? Would Dr. Phil happily stick that on his tab? Probably, I mean, it's hardly reasonable to put an alcoholic in close proximity with booze and not expect them to break, is it? Guests aren't paid. On a lot of TV talk shows, guests are paid to be there. It works as an added incentive to get people to air their dirty laundry on national TV. After all, do you really want to go up in front of all those people and tell your deepest, darkest secrets? Most need a little push to get there, but the Dr. Phil show doesn't actually pay their guests anything. They pay for the airfare and accommodation and any treatment the doc suggests, but that's as far as it goes. For instance, if you appear on Judge Judy, the show will pay you a few $100 for your time, and that usually ends up going towards the court fees. It's thought that Jerry Springer paid his guests around $300 for their time. But seeing as most of the stories are either made up by people who think it's funny or are played out by hired actors, that's a pretty good deal. So if you feel like going on Dr. Phil, you better really need help. Otherwise, it's not worth it. If you were looking into some quick cash, you better look elsewhere. Dr. Phil doesn't follow up. He may look like he cares, but make no mistake, everyone's favorite TV doc is in it purely for the ratings. As soon as you've left his couch, that's it. You'll most likely never talk to Dr. Phil McGraw again. Unless you're someone who scored him a ton of viewers like the Cash Me Outside girl Danielle Brugoli, then you won't make a second appearance. What's more, Phil won't call you or your family to see how you're doing. His team might follow up with you to see how things are going, but that's not guaranteed. And don't expect alternative treatment to be offered if this one doesn't work out either. In short, the doc is a one-trick pony. If it doesn't heal you, you're on your own. Funnily enough, addicts often need to try several types of treatment before one sticks, and tearaway teens are unlikely to be magically changed by one simple experience. It's sad, but true. Producers lie. It's not uncommon for producers to over-exaggerate the premise of a person appearing on the show. One guest, Jennifer, was told that she was going on the show to talk to Dr. Phil in length about her story of being discriminated against because of her looks. She was excited to get her 15 minutes of fame. Everything happened quickly for Jennifer, a fitness expert who was flown out to LA at the behest of the producers. Only when she arrived on set, herself and a number of other guests were strategically placed in the audience. Although Jennifer didn't think anything of it at first, thinking that she would be called up to the stage, the reality was very different. Phil simply asked her a question from where she was sat. She replied, then he ended the show. The bewildered woman was swiftly demiked and sent to wait for the driver to take her back to the airport. It was only by chance when she saw the doc rushing through the corridors that she got to meet him and take a picture with him. A far cry from what the producers told her would be happening over the phone. Can you imagine flying all the way out to LA only to say one line and be ushered out? And without pay? No thanks. Audience member contracts. It goes without saying that guests on the show probably have to sign some sort of waiver making it clear that Dr. Phil has no responsibility over the show's outcome. But audience members also have to sign a contract too. Back in 2010, one man tried to sue the show for a whopping $100 million after producers stopped him from being an active audience member due to his bipolar disorder. According to Neil David Suits, the show discriminated against him after he and the rest of the audience were asked to sign a waiver confirming that they didn't suffer from any type of mental illness. When staff learned of Neil's condition, they told him in no uncertain terms that he wasn't allowed to talk to any staff members, participate in any discussion, or talk to Dr. Phil. Understandably, the incident left Suits feeling pretty peeved, and he went for the show's monetary jugular. A settlement was reached for an undisclosed amount, but spokeswoman Teresa Corigliano denied that the show did anything wrong. Don't expect therapy. We've established that you have to really want help to go on Dr. Phil, as there's no payout, but there's more. All guests have to sign a contract saying that they realize anything the doc says isn't therapy. or a substitute for therapy. Quite funny given the fact that Phil often touts his PhD in psychology. The show's disclaimer says that Dr. Phil's advice is not real medical, psychological advice at all. A quick Google search will tell you that McGraw is anything but respected in the industry, with most other therapists in his field denouncing all of his methods, calling it pure entertainment. The trouble is that a lot of people don't realize this and take Phil's words to heart. In some cases, people who need therapy have been put off seeking help because they're too worried that they'll be met with someone like Dr. Phil. Because, let's be honest, he's a little judgmental at times. If you ask the big man himself, he always points back to his education. But the fact is that Phil McGraw hasn't practiced psychology in 20 years. And when he did, he was often in trouble with the state medical board. As far as TV psychologists go, he might be the richest, but he's definitely not the best. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other 2 videos on your screen.